We defined about 4 years ago, and I led this effort to redefine not public safety, because that people think police, fire, EMT. Community safety involves homelessness, mental health issues, our schools, all the other issues we're facing, opioid addiction. And by broadening the definition, now we can address the problem.
Welcome back to the Around the District podcast, where we bring conversations to you with people shaping our community, districts, and the future of Arizona. I'm Gabrielle Mazar.
I'm Nicole Brown.
And on today's episode, we have Matt Orlando. He is running for mayor of city of Chandler. And we're going to talk to him today about his initiatives and what he wants to bring to the city of Chandler. Welcome to the show.
Gabby and Nicole, thank you very much. It's exciting to be here with you two lovely people, and I'm ready to go forward. I'm charging here.
Yeah. You're actually council member,
I'm a councilman.
right?
I'm a city
Matt
councilman.
Orlando. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've been on the council for how long?
It is my sixth term, going on 25 years. Yeah, I was elected in the 90s, the 2000s, and then recently in 2018. We have term limits in Chandler, so therefore you have to sit out at least 4 years. And I did that. So,
Okay. And
yeah.
then you went back again and the people reelected you.
Well, I must have done something correct to reelect me. Let's hope that's the right answer.
Well, tell us about yourself. Besides the city council, tell us more about you.
Well, let me take you way back. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. And at that time, we were an Italian family in a neighborhood, but Newark is a very diverse community. And we had, I had friends from all walks of religion, colors, ethnicity. It was just great growing up. And the only thing I cared about growing up in Newark, New Jersey is my friends. I picked them who could hit a baseball. And that was reality. So, I went to a school in Newark. Unfortunately, like I said, a very turbulent time in the city. And like a lot of large cities, a lot of my friends succumbed to drugs and alcohol and jail. And about a third of us, I used the word escaped. And I think what the key with me was education. I felt strongly about getting good education because my mom and dad both left school at 16 years old. At that time, they went to work. It was a different time and era we all had. My dad was a worker, a factory worker. He was a person that took a shower after work, not before work. And we grew up. It was 5 of us, pretty tight budget, as you can imagine, with 5 kids. We moved around a lot because of structure and rentals, things like that. It was an exciting time. I loved being in the city. What really got me going is the Air Force. I found out later my grandfather was in World War I. My uncles were in World War II. One of them actually jumped on D-Day. It was exciting to hear. And then I had several other uncles and cousins in the military, and I joined the Air Force. And that's how I got out to Arizona. I got to Davis Mountain Air Force Base.
Air Force is good. My husband is retired Air Force.
Go blue. And then, of course, I married my lovely wife, Pat. We've been together for 48 years. We have 3 lovely children, and we have 2 great grandchildren. I recommend anyone out there have grandkids first. It's more fun.
We hear that a lot. Who are you going to give them back to?
Yeah.
Exactly. Spoil them and say, here you go, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Punches pilot.
What made you decide to want to run for city council in the first place? Why did you want to get into politics so many years ago?
Well, one of the things I learned growing up in Newark is, there's trust and loyalty and giving back. We're a large family, and there wasn't much we could give back, but we volunteered a lot. And I saw this and I majored in political science, so I was always interested in politics. And the reality was I wanted to do something greater than me. Being in the Air Force, I made greater than me. Being in the public city council. At that time, there was contention on the council. And a good friend of mine said, well, why don't you put your money where your mouth is? Instead of complaining about it, why don't you pull a petition and go knock on doors? We knocked on 7,000 doors that year in 1990. And I won by 135 votes.
Wow.
And the coolest part about it is I get to serve 4 years with Coy Payne, who is not only the first Black mayor of Chandler, he's the first Black mayor of Arizona. And he taught me a lot about how to be a council member. So it was just about giving back to the community. And growing up in Newark, quality of life was not one of the predominant aspects. And I saw Chandler as a great place to have a great quality of life. And that's really what it boils down to, is quality of life and maintaining a safe community.
Portability is part of that too.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. At the time, we were the fastest growing city in the nation. And the reality was we had to put infrastructure in so fast that all the other stuff we talked about, the affordability, the social issues, things like that, was put a back burner because we had to get the infrastructure in first. But that's the difference. So that's why I ran. And, I love helping people. I love worrying about the potholes. I love worrying about, seriously, it sounds so
It's a
trite.
lot of potholes.
Yeah. Well, on this side of I don't know about our side, we're doing pretty well.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
keep,
Well,
but no offense, but um, and that's really what it boils down. Helping constituents. I got a lady called me one night. Her cat was lost. I mean, the things we get on the phone call sometimes is great, and I love helping people.
So you worked for Honeywell,
Yes.
and it says that you were a former executive and you were responsible for satellite and defense technology.
Yeah. So being in the military, I had, I was in the military for 30 years. I was almost 5 years active duty and 25 years Arizona National Guard. And we were more an operational unit. I controlled airplanes, high fighter performance airplanes. Bottom line was, I wanted to make sure our war fighters were getting the equipment that I know I would be using. And I worked at Honeywell, General Dynamics, some of the large corporations, and I literally did deals all over the world, from San Diego to Singapore, and mostly with defense industrial complex over around the world. But reality, did a lot of international work and commercial work as well. Airspace, aircraft, space, all was my niche, and I enjoyed that. My last job was a director of a large group of 28 people around the world. My morning was 5 o'clock talking to my folks in Europe, and then the afternoon corporate stuff all day long, and then at 5 o'clock my folks in Asia. That was a long day, and after about 2 years, I said, I'm done with this. I got to do something more exciting. And I was still in the National Guard, and I still was on the city council. So you're talking about
So
juggling.
you did that in addition to being
Yes,
on
ma'am.
the city council?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, yeah, that's why the gray hairs are here.
I was gonna say, being a politician and having a full-time job is two full-time jobs in my opinion.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And the reality is I could have done it all without my wife. She's my rock. So
Awesome. Well, okay, so part of what your platform is community safety, economic growth, and enhanced quality
yeah.
of life. Bringing your experience from Honeywell in the military, talk about the economic growth for Chandler, for the city of Chandler.
So economic growth is this. We were very successful with the Intels and all of the supply chain for the Intel group. That's great news. And for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been poking around and saying, "Hey, what can we do differently?" Biomedicine. We have two large hospitals in Chandler right now. Some municipalities are lucky to have one or a clinic. So what can we do to take care of the medical facilities and get those subsidiaries into Chandler? Biomedicine, advanced manufacturing. Those are the type of things that we're looking at in the future. And my background in that world helps me be able to communicate with those high-tech industries, those high-tech folks, because I understand their language. When we sit there talking about a satellite communication system, or we're sitting there talking about technology, aerospace technology. We have a large aerospace industry in Chandler as well. Smaller companies, but together it's a large employer. So I can speak their language. In fact, I just had a seminar a few weeks ago where 25 aerospace companies was in one room, and I was able to communicate with those folks pretty efficiently and say, okay, what do you need? And they need workforce. So that's the good news, that we know what their needs are as workforce. So that's important to us, because you can't, like I said, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. At the time I grew up, I could have bought land, built a factory, and nobody would go work there because it wasn't safe. So you have to have a bigger picture, just economic growth. I got to be able to say to these guys, I have a workforce. We have great Chandler schools, Tempe schools, Mesa schools are all great school systems. So that helps drive growth in that area. Safety, community safety helps drive growth. And when I talk about community safety, and I'm dovetailing a little bit because it's important, if you don't have a safe environment, like I said, in Newark, New Jersey, you're not going to have the growth. So it goes hand in hand. So we defined about 4 years ago, and I led this effort to redefine not public safety, because that people think police, fire, EMT. Community safety involves homelessness, mental health issues, our schools, all the other issues we're facing, opioid addiction. And by broadening the definition, now we can address the problem. Okay? We can address the larger problem and then put the resources and the partnerships to go through that so that we could be able to solve some of those issues. Community safety is important because federal government and the state government have both withheld funding. Those funding is drying up. So we're in this as Chandler together right now. And we rely on other communities, we rely on partnerships because we have the problem. Like I was kidding you before, the potholes is a problem. Well, these are the problems too. We have to address that problem. And then go back to economic development. Without economic development, without a strong community, you can have a strong quality of life. And that's really what it boils down to. You want parks, you want recreation, you want a downtown, you want arts, which is another big thing in my mind, arts. You want a great library system. You want to be able to go out there and when you do work that 10, 12, 13 hours a day, some of us do, like I did, I told you earlier, I don't want to drive to Scottsdale or another city to go get something to eat. I want to stay in Chandler and I want to go to the parks in Chandler. I want my little kids playing little league baseball in Chandler or soccer. And that's what it boils down to. So if you keep those three components in mind, you have a vibrant community.
Well, downtown Chandler is a lot of fun. I actually like going down there a lot. But talk about, I live in Tempe,
Uh-huh.
and our city council just passed a nuisance ordinance, to where I guess you can't gather a lot. The number of people who can be gathered together or feeding the homeless.
Being the homeless,
It,
yeah,
it had to do with feeding the homeless. It impacted churches
right,
who want to like give them water and food
sure.
and shelter and summer hot days in summer. Does Chandler have something similar? And then what's your stance
Yeah,
on that?
we don't have a quote nuisance ordinance other than for noise, like for data centers. We have that in
Yeah.
ordinance. We could talk about the ordinance for that because Chandler led the valley in putting
Yeah.
together a strict ordinance for data centers and be very clear. We have our share of data centers. We've had our share of noises, but I do want to go back to nuisances. We have a great relationship with our we call for our city. We've had this now for the last 10 years, 12 years. It's a group of all nonprofits. It's a group of religious organizations. It's a group of city. And we put ourselves together. Okay, who could do what? Instead of having 5 groups doing backpacks, we have one group now. We put it all together. Instead of having folks that are feeding the homeless, we put it all together under one umbrella. And then we work together to make sure that is happening so that we're not splintering this thing. Because that's a waste of resource if you think about it. Everybody wants to help.
Everybody wants to help. Yeah.
Exactly. So we are working with we actually house our homeless, a good portion of them in our churches at night. We have a group called Ascend, which also could feed, and we have the food banks. And we work together as a team to be able to address this homelessness issues. And then we have navigators. They're city employees that go out there and deal with the homelessness issues. We had one lady, we just helped at Navajo Reservation. Her twin sister passed away. And the only way we get her birth certificate, we found out her twin sister had passed away. So we drove up to Navajo Nation. We got a copy of this other lady's her sister's birth certificate. And now she got Social Security, and now she got help. Those are things we got to do best.
Yeah.
So no, we don't have an ordinance for that because we have a system to feed folks and
Right.
help folks. So we're not
So
consolidating.
you don't need that. You don't need it.
We don't need it. We don't need it. We don't really
in
need it.
Chandler because
Yeah.
you have a process that's effective.
It's
is what
robust.
saying.
Yeah.
We'll you talked about data centers because I know that you guys voted down a data center
Yes.
about a year ago, I guess.
Yes, it
right?
was
And
last
led by one of our former women. And so talk about what feedback you got from the community and why the council voted the way it did. And as mayor,
Yeah.
would you have done anything differently or same as
So,
where we are now?
so we have our shared data centers. So the reality is this: coming out of the recession, the Great Recession, we had to broaden our portfolio, like I talked about earlier, about broadening our portfolio of businesses here. And call care centers was a growth area, and they came to Chandler, Wells Fargo, GMC, there's a bunch of them out there, as you know. But they needed data. to be able to do those call cases and process transaction, the Bank of America. So we allow data centers to go into this area and to help support these businesses. No problem, because we were able to mitigate some of the noises, and we were able to mitigate the water usage. We were able to mitigate a lot of those issues. But now, as you start seeing these huge AI data centers that are just a drain on our resources, let's be quite frank. And I know you've been on the board now, you're going to face these issues. It's a huge, and I need the energy for Price Road. I don't need electricity to fund this one area. So I was fair. And that's, you need to do that in our society, be fair. So I said to the data center folks, I said, look, what jobs are you going to bring with this data center? And they said to me, well, we're going to bring, this will be an AI data center. It'll be a hub. And around this hub are all these research and development groups that are used as high capacity data center, because you need to be within X amount of miles to be able to take care of capacity. And I said, okay, show me the jobs. And
Can they show you the job?
that's the point.
Right.
They can't.
They
No.
didn't show me the job.
There are no jobs.
Exactly.
It's very limited.
So,
workforce.
and it was a chicken, but well, if you build it, it'll come. I said, look, that only works in the movies.
Right.
All right. That does not work in reality. I'm not going to trade a one eyesore building for another. So I was very honest with these folks, my business background, my large, business background with large deals. I put multi-million-dollar deals. I said, go talk to Intel and see if Intel has customers that would love to come there and be able to take advantage of this. Because remember, these incubation jobs, these R&D jobs, once they develop that product, they could go on Price Road Corridor and now manufacture that product. Everyone wins. Now I have a line of sight
Right.
to a 10-year future. But they didn't show me that.
Yeah.
And I said no. I said no.
And I think it's important. I had the opportunity to tour a data center. They're humongous.
Yeah,
I
they
mean, and they use a lot of power. Not what I'm hearing now is less water
Right. But
and more power, but that
Exactly.
power is still,
Yeah.
there's a cost.
Yeah.
And they only employ minimal amount of people.
yeah, and but that's a great point, because that's what happened in the early 2000s. We did this 2009, 10, 11. They were talking about 150 to 200 employees because there's a lot of equipment in there. Today's
They
technology,
don't need it.
Right.
they don't need it.
They don't
It's
need
plug
it.
and play. Now, did I know that 15 years ago?
But it was different times.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm being criticized by my opponent right now because we allowed this to go in. Well, I also said to my opponent is, you also are given tax breaks. The reality why these data centers are going to Arizona is because
But
they're
it's a tax
getting
break.
a huge tax break. And I said, look, I'm not going to sit here and argue why or where. I had a logical reason to put these data centers in. We had a baseline 15 years ago of, gee, how many of you wish you knew what you knew today 15 years
Right.
ago? Come on.
And
Don't
plus, data centers have actually been around a lot longer than what we
exactly.
knew,
But
because
not
we
what
need
they
it.
are today.
But not what they
Not
are
even
today.
close to
Yeah.
what, I mean, we had no idea that
Yeah.
a data center was going to be what it is now.
Exactly.
And they are humongous.
Right.
And if you go down to, I went to the one of them out in East Mesa, and it's like data center row. It's like
Yeah.
Amazon,
Yeah.
Meta,
Yeah.
Google, Apple. They're all out there, and they're all like back to back on this, in Mesa, and these communities are right there. So I can understand why the consumers or ratepayers, that's what I'd say, ratepayers for SRP,
You're right.
but for our constituents or your constituents to be concerned about data centers
Yes.
coming, because of there's an environmental factor, there's cost, because Channel 12 News just did a whole story on how the power from those data centers gets pushed down, or the heat
Yes.
from the air conditioners get pushed
Yes.
down into the neighborhoods, which increases, our utility bills, especially if you live around the area. So do you guys get a lot of feedback from the consumer? Like, do you listen to the people in
Oh.
Chandler? Like,
Yeah.
lots of people show up to these
Yes.
city council meetings, right?
Yes.
And they're online. You can see them. I've been to one or two myself. What do you say to them when, well, you listen to them, and then how do you guys make a decision
Yeah.
on whether or not to vote on one way or another?
Look, I have been collaborative all my life. If I talk to the residents about an issue, I'm going to talk to the developer. It's only fair. If I talk to the developer about an issue, I'm going to talk to the residents about the issues. My job, my role has been for the last 24 years is to put the groups together and to collaborate and get to yes. And there's sometimes, a lot of times we get to yes. I had one neighborhood issue. All they wanted was a gate. And I went to the developer. I said, you want 30 people showing up to say no to this development because you won't put a gate into their community, leading into their community.
Right.
So think about that.
A gate.
A gate. And that's simplistic. I mean, but the reality is that's what everyone, I negotiate for a living. Everyone has their bottom line, the other person has their bottom line. And I said, you guys want this project? The neighbors don't want this project. Now, how do we get to yes? First of all, it's always the first thing is facts. Everyone has their share of facts. You have the facts of the developer, you have the facts of neighbors. Sometimes they're both distorted, quite frankly. Let's be honest, because they're both trying to sell something. And what you got to do is get on baseline together and say, look, what are the facts of this case? Yeah, you're going to do X, Y, Z jobs. You're going to put more people in my neighborhood. You're going to reduce water. The kids are going to get hurt. So how do we bring these parties together?
Right.
Sometimes I can't. So what I do is I make the best decision for the 300,000 people in Chandler. And what's the long-term solution? And many times, my friends, I side with the neighbors because you know why? They were there first. And why should I disrupt their quality of life? Because somebody wants to pigeonhole something in there. And the developers know that.
And
Yeah.
sometimes you can't always do that, right?
No.
I mean, we all have to face the fact that data centers are here to stay.
Right.
We're not going to get around that. But not just data centers, like corporations and things of that
Yeah.
sort. I love that you said that you listen to the folks in Chandler and what they have to say and how to compromise that, because we're not always going to get what we want,
That's right.
right? When you have a solution that, well, let's do this. Let's come back and talk more to Matt Orlando, city council member in Chandler and also candidate for mayor of Chandler. Let's come back and talk more and finish the conversation. So go ahead and wrap this up.
So if people want to get a hold of you and find out more about your campaign, how do they do that?
My website's matt.orlando for mayor.com.
Yeah. So you can go to mattorlando.com. We're going to come back with another episode with city council member and candidate for mayor of Chandler. On the next episode, this is Around the Districts podcast. You can like, follow, and share, and we will see you in the next episode.